Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode 30 of Be With Me in the book of Romans. We are starting chapter 7 today. I'm going to start with the story. A couple of years ago, I went to the zoo with a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old. And as we were getting in the car to go, the weather turned inclement, and then it got worse, and then it got worse, and it got worse after that. But as we were getting in the car, we knew that this bad weather was coming, and it was, sort of disastrously bad eventually. And we decided that we were going to commit our minds, and with this line, we were going to set our minds with this line. And no matter what happens, we were going to say, that's okay, we're on an adventure. So as we got out of the car and it started to rain harder and harder and harder, and it eventually turned into like this monsoon soaking rain, we said repeatedly, that's okay, we're on an adventure. Oh, the snow leopard's not out today. That's okay, we're on an adventure. Hey, I'm getting cold because I'm so wet. That's okay, we're on an adventure. My boots are filling up with water. That's okay, we're on an adventure. And to these children's great credit, the whole day was marked by the way we set our minds. Similarly, today, there is going to be a line here, and that is to belong to another. That's the title for today. I belong to another. Hey, work is hard. That's okay. I belong to another. Oh, wait a minute. I belong to another. Service is hard. Oh, I remember now. I belong to another. Temptations are very tempting. That's okay. I belong to another. So listen in here. This is from Romans chapter 7, verse 1. Or do you not know, brothers, for I am speaking to those who know the law, that the law is binding on a person only as long as he lives. Then he uses this example of a married woman for a couple of verses. For a married woman is bound by the law to her husband while he lives, but if her husband dies, she is released from the law of marriage. Accordingly, she will be called an adulteress if she lives with another man while her husband is alive. But if her husband dies, she is free from that law, and if she marries another, she is not an adulteress. Likewise, my brothers, this is the big verse for today, you also died to the law through the body of Christ, so that you may belong to another, to him who has raised you from the dead, in order that we may bear fruit for God. For while we were living in the flesh, our sinful passions, aroused by the law, were at work in our members to bear fruit for death. But now we are released from the law, having died to that which held us captive, so that we serve in a new way of the Spirit, and not in the old way of the written code. So the functional parts of this is the law is binding, it's an obligation, it captures us, it imprisons us, it is permanent. You have to go all the way to somebody's death to get out of it. The example that's used is this marriage, this being bound to a person by the law and it's released upon death. And one can be released from the law, but it has to be by somebody's death. And in this case, the way we get unbound to the law is by the death of Christ, and us by associating with it, riding his coattails, if you will. All right. So I am released, not just so I can be unmoored, and not so I can wander, and not so I can be confused, and not so I can have nothing. I'm released so that I can be bound to something greater. So we're released from the law so that we can be bound to something greater, which happens to be someone greater. So why are we released from the law? So that I can belong to another. So I can belong to Jesus. I can belong to not the impossible law, but I can belong to the improbable Jesus. I can belong to the one who is raised from the dead. I can belong to the immortal Jesus. And again, this emphasizes the resurrection from the dead. This is a passage we went over yesterday. The fourth step on the Romans road to salvation was, if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. So the resurrection in Romans 10, verses 9 and 10, is critical. The resurrection is sort of the key, the cornerstone of our belief system. Okay, So I belong to another. And it's almost like a mantra. I think if we say this, I belong to another, I belong to another. Help us, Lord, to reset and renew our minds that in all circumstances. When I feel blue, I belong. We fight that by saying, I belong to another. When I'm tempted by the passions of my body, I belong to another. When I'm tempted by the bad thoughts of being ill, we can say, I belong to another. When I consider death, I belong to another. When I want to say something bad and use my tongue for evil, I belong to another. So when we set our mind and say, I belong to another, it changes everything. And he says that we can bear fruit for God. So we can be released by Jesus' death from the law. Why? So we can wander? No. So that we can belong, and that so we can bear fruit for God. So we can change our character, maybe work on our patience because I belong to another. I can change my tongue. Why? Because I belong to another. I can change my relationship with my bodily passions. Why? Because I belong to another. So this is the way that we can serve in a new way, in a new spirit, in the new covenant, as the law is written, not on our cold, stony hearts, but on our hearts that are imbibed with the Spirit. All right, so I think it's helpful today, as we conclude, to put everything today through this filter of I belong to another. Just like when we went to the zoo and we said repeatedly as we set our minds, that's okay, we're on an adventure. Similarly here today, I think we can say, that's okay, I belong to another. So when we get these thoughts like, hey, serving is inconvenient. Oh, wait, that's okay, I belong to another. Or temptation is hard. Oh, that's okay, I belong to another. Or people are prickly inside and outside the church. Oh, that's okay, I belong to another. Or my passions are so strong. Oh, that's okay, I belong to another. Or I feel discouraged, or I'm in pain. That's okay, I belong to another. Let's pin that to our chest today. That's okay. My brothers, you've died to the law through the body of Christ so that you may belong to another. Thanks for listening.